Okay, Ralph, you can join us once again.
Morning.
Hey, woohoo! Happy New Year, everybody. I'm RenéMarie, and this is the RenéMarie Stroke of Luck TV and podcast. I'm so excited about this year because we have so many visions and missions. And Ralph and I were just talking in the Zoom green room about some of his and mine. But I do want to share that what an extraordinary way to start the year, but with Ralph, because Ralph is making such an impact in the stroke world globally, not just locally, globally. And we're so excited to have met him. Am I showing on Zoom? I don't know. On Facebook, Ralph, could you take a look just to make sure? Because I want to make sure because I don't see it.
Look right now.
What's that?
I'll look right now.
Okay, I just want to make sure because I don't want to go through all.
All right, let's see.
Let me, Lee, I just want to make sure.
There it is. Here we
Can you
go.
can you see me though? Can you see
No, I
us?
can't.
Oh no,
It's some kind
that's
of jewelry or something.
what
There it is. No.
okay, yes. Okay, perfect. 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 Well, let's go back to the beginning. Welcome to Renee. Oh, there's Joanne. Woo! We're having a wonderful day. Let's invite her in so that we could start. Let's invite Joanne. You know, we're live streaming and we go with the flow. And I always say that in our world, winging it is recommended and approved. So we always love when people can join us. Hi, Joanne.
Hi, how
How
are
are
you?
you? Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're streaming live now already, so don't worry
Right.
about it. We're very excited that you're with us.
Oh,
Let me introduce you to Ralph. Ralph, this is Joanne. Joanne, this is Ralph.
Joanne, Happy New Year.
hi,
Happy
Ralph. The
New Year.
same to you.
So
Pleasure.
I was just doing the greeting, and I actually like this better because I like when things are fresh and off the top of your head, and because sometimes I don't like to talk in the Zoom green room because then you have to say it again on the show. So I'm really excited about this. But let me start the show, Joanne and Ralph, and then we'll begin. So let's backtrack a little bit because I always like to make sure that we're streaming live and that you can hear us and that you could see everything because we don't want one single thing to be missed. So welcome to RenéMarie Stroke of Luck. I'm RenéMarie. This is such a wonderful year, as I said a few minutes ago. Our visions for 2026 are extraordinary. Ralph and I were talking in the Zoom green room about his visions, which we're going to hear about. And I spoke on the phone with Joanne on last Friday, I believe it was. And she was such an extraordinary visionary, and she's an author with Trapped Within, right, Joanne? From the
Right.
book Trapped Within. We've all suffered strokes, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. So it's really a wonderful thing to begin again, new beginnings. I think every day we have the possibility for new beginnings to get up in the morning. When we get up, we're blessed. We all have challenges, which Ralph will share his challenges, and Joanna's had many challenges she shared with me. She could share what she would like to share. And I have challenges as well, we just fight through them. We try to not let them get in our way. I was just talking to somebody the other day about not letting I think it was you, Joanne, not letting the challenges that confront us get in our way. We have to somehow go around them and not let them stop our progress, because life is a gift. That's really what the last words in my book, RenéMarie Stroke of Luck, is. Life is a gift. Thank you so much. I'm really excited to start the year with Ralph, especially because, like I said initially, Ralph is making an impact in the stroke world globally, not just locally. His shows are extraordinary. They're on Stroke Warrior Radio. You can find the link on our press and on our website and on our Facebook. And if you'd like, you can always email me or Facebook me or whatever you need to get the information. But we're so lucky. And Joanne is another gift that I believe in God, and I know that God had a divine intervention on Friday when I spoke to Joanne. And this is why, because I have had 2 books in the works for years. And like Ralph and I were just talking about, I can't find the time to do it. And I really said to myself, 2026 is going to be about starting to write my books. And when Joanne called me, you'll see through this show that she's such a dear, gentle, loving, inspirational person. And she was talking to me, and I said, okay, Joanne, I said, now that you had called me, I said, I would love to set up like a once a month meeting with you via Zoom so that I could have deadlines for my books. And Joanne felt the same way. She's like, oh my God, that's incredible. We'll hold each other accountable. We'll do our work. And, even if we only get halfway to our visions, at least we're halfway there. So I'm so excited about this year, and I'm so excited that Ralph and Joanne are a part of the show. I really want to go back and thank my entire board, Ginny for all the work she does in booking everybody, Diane, John, Father Sam, Marlon, who else? I think that's it. If I think of anybody else, I'll let you know. But what an extraordinary board we had. Last year was exceptional with the Unconditional Love concert, which we're taking that on the road. The comedy show with Jeff Norris. So 2025 was extraordinary, but 2026 is going to be exceptional. So Ralph, thank you for joining us today. Joanne, thank you so much for listening to your insight and giving me a call on Friday. You're a gift from God. So Ralph, I'm going to let you stop. You know what? I want to ask everybody, what did you do for New Year's? Like, what was your vision? What were you doing on there, with your intentions?
Well, you go ahead, Joanne, if you want. I can
Did
go
you have
too if you prefer.
If you're saying ladies first, you don't know me well enough to know if I'm a lady.
Jeez. That's good. That's good.
So go ahead, Joanne. Tell us
For
your
the New Year's,
intentions, your visions for
yeah,
ending and going into the new year.
I kind of I took it through the whole holy season. I started thinking when Thanksgiving was over and everybody was already on to shopping and going and getting all these things, and we have to have Christmas done and over the day after Christmas, because then we go into the new year and we're on our way. And when I looked down the block where I live, they had beautiful decorations up for Christmas, but there's only maybe 3 houses that still have them up. And today is the day for the Three Kings, and that's part of the celebration of Christmas. So what I wanted to do, and it worked out not because I chose to have it this way, but everybody else in our family had other plans, not to get together as a family, because we do that a lot. We're a very tight, close-knit family. But there were some of them that had wanted to travel and had planned for it for a long time, to take their younger children to places that they had never been before. So that was their gift to their families, and I thought it was wonderful. But it also gave me the time that I was looking for to celebrate Christmas.
Mm,
And what my goal was to be quiet and listen,
mm,
and to really place myself into what it must have been like back then. Now, I also have to share that I've been lucky enough to go to Israel and to be in the Holy Land and to see
Wow.
these places. And I highly recommend anyone who wants to go there and wants all the troubles settled where you can go back safely, I would highly recommend it. There's something about getting off the plane in Tel Aviv where there's a difference. And
Mm,
I can't
Well,
explain it. Nothing that's expressed verbally with anyone, but you feel a presence there,
mm,
and it follows you. So a lot of what I would do every morning, I would wake up and take myself, you know, through memories back to different places that were there. But then I also did things like there was a exhibition unknown is I think the name of the program, and I've really enjoyed because I like archaeology and seeing what did people do before we got here. And they streamed programs from him about things that happened from Moses all the way up and through Christmas. And he brought in things that we've never thought about before. And so it helped to expand my knowledge, which I
mm,
really enjoyed.
mm,
But I just felt that I placed myself in Christmas, and that's where I wanted to be this year. So, if any of the rest of you are lucky enough to do that and not get yourself filled with anxiety and I've got to leave this place early because there's another party that's going on over here, or I have two families that I have to satisfy, so I'll eat here but I'll have dessert over there, and then
mm,
we'll go and be with our friends type of thing. That's not Christmas.
yeah, yeah.
So I just want to encourage people to go back to what Christmas really, really means.
Wow. That's incredible, Joanne, because you did it during the holy season for us, Christmas, and Easter is another holy week, that holy week before. But I really think it's important for everybody to take a step back and go in the silence and listen and get out of the noise, because it's so important to do that, to life is a gift, like we said before, right? Like we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We all suffered major strokes, which we're going to go into in a little bit, but like anything can happen to anybody, and you have to be able to be present and enjoy yourself. And what I did this season is I really slept a lot, and I really, because that's the only way I'll stop my mind, so I when I got done with my grandchildren and my children, and I usually get done around 6:30 or 7. I did come home, and I usually go on the computer and I'm working and working, but during this Christmas season I really just went to bed, and I rested, and I rested my body. And I'm telling you, when I woke up on like New Year's Day, I was like, okay, now we're going. Now we're gonna go. So thank you so much for that story, Joanne. That's really an important piece, and that shows who you are and how you work. So, and we're gifted to have you on the show. Ralph, why don't you share a little bit about your visions or your holiday
well, I
season?
think mine had some catalysts in it. I've had some health issues, so in the last 3 or 4 months, and it's forced me to sit down and see what I want, see what I need to do, those kind of things. I know um, Stroke Warrior Radio has been a very big part of my life, and I have a real job besides. But I've just I think over the holiday season, I agree with you, Joanne. it starts on, and for me, it starts on Thanksgiving, because after a stroke, I'm grateful that I'm still here. That's my first victory every day. I get out of bed. Warriors achieve victories every day, and I've started to recognize those victories that I'm going through and what those mean for the future. And again, I'm one of those that's doing a book as well and a cookbook, Italian cookbook. And I've done a lot of work on that in the last 3 months. So I'm progressing there. I'm also wanting to make Stroke Warrior Radio even better than it is, because as I do that, it makes me better.
Yeah.
All the people I talk to that have had strokes, or therapists or doctors or coaches or whatever, um, I learn something every time. So by sharing my stroke recovery journey, um, I my stroke recovery journey becomes better.
Mhm.
So my stroke issues are starting to wane way back. I have very little issues anymore than I did before. It took 7 years to get through a very stagnant recovery, and now it's, in my mind, become remarkable. So I think what I've kind of done is gone through planning. I'm slowing down. I'm uh, addressing things segments. So now I'm trying to make the things easier, if you will. It's not going to be easier because we're growing so much, but I have I have some objectives that I want in my life. I have a great family. I have two great granddaughters that I just got this year, or great grandson and a great granddaughter, um, which I'm not old enough for. But
Me neither.
yeah, exactly. It's just a step back and smell the roses. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, I've
Yeah.
I've had to do that a lot in the last several months, and it's now I have a plan for the rest of the year, and I think with people like you guys that I love doing this stuff. Uh, and every time I sit down with somebody like Renee or Joanne or any other of my contributors, it's it just
It like fills you up. It just it
oh
like
yeah, it's
it's like
just an
putting
enormous.
a plug in. It's like putting a
Mhm.
plug in, right?
Yep,
I'm telling you, it's like whoop, it's
yep.
like putting
The
that
energy
plug in.
just goes like this,
Yeah.
and now it's the radio's such that I don't have to slow down my mind because it's been so much to learn it and grow it and that kind of stuff. Now I can just do it and I can reflect on it afterwards.
Yeah.
So it's a year of reflection for me, but it's also going to be a year of growth for Stroke Warrior Radio. We're going to go to live shows. We're getting podcasts now. So there's a whole bunch going to be happening in the new year. So I'm excited for the new year.
Very excited. I could see you're like
Yeah,
you're energized. You're energized. And
yeah,
you said that you're going to be busy, but it's not busy when you love what you're doing. It's
no,
not busy. It's not busy. It's passion for life. It's not a 9 to 5. It's just your life. It's a life calling that both of you do. Ralph with your Stroke of Luck Warrior Radio, and Joanne with your books. It's just like it just gives us passion for life, and we just we love people. We want to help people. We want to inspire people. What would you say to a stroke survivor, for 2026? What would be your message to them?
me, fight, fight, research, consistency, repetitiveness, and prayer.
Yeah.
Definitely prayer. The
No matter
more
what
that,
faith you are. Well, no matter what faith you are. If
yeah,
it's
exactly,
if yeah,
exactly.
if it's just good thoughts, or hopefulness or love or whatever it is. I believe that Ralph and I, we've spoke about this many times. Love is the answer. Love is what gets us through so
Mhm.
many of the things in life, because we just want that hope. I was watching, there's two programs that I love to watch. It's Nashville, and there's another one called Younger. It's an MTV program. Now, the storylines are all storylines, but what I love about them is the teamwork that is involved in each one. I'm drawing a blank at their names, but the two women that are in the show, what they say all the time is, "I got your back." And they, no matter what people do, no matter what they face, they always have each other's backs, and they talk about things, and they have hard conversations. Life is not easy, so you have to have those hard conversations with people, to get through things. And if you have them, you agree to disagree, but you're being your honest self. So it really is a wonderful, I love the two shows. You should watch it, Ralph. You'll really like it. You would
Familiar with
really like it.
Nashville, yeah. I
Nashville.
agree. It's um there's for stroke survivors, so many of us have hope taken away from us
Yeah.
because they
Yeah.
tell
By
us
the
it's good as
doctors.
it's, yeah, it's this as good as it's gonna get.
Yes.
After 7 years, I was off a walker and cane. I can
Yeah.
run on a treadmill. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
It's never as good as it's going to get. And
Yeah.
we all have to share that with other survivors. And to me, it's stroke warriors. You can make a choice. You can be a stroke survivor or a stroke warrior.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Joanne, what would you tell a stroke survivor at this point in your life, for going into 2026?
I think one of the things that stands out to me is if you set a goal for yourself, and of course, January is the month where we're supposed to do that, um, and you don't achieve it, maybe a portion of it, but not the full thing. A lot of times we get disappointed and we stop. And what I would like to say is not to look at it that way. Look at it as though you had gotten to a certain point. So you're farther ahead than you were when you began. It doesn't mean that you've done something wrong or you're not good enough or whatever. It just means that this is where you are now. So set another goal.
Mm,
Reflect on what you did and how you got to where you are. Take the good things from that experience and bring that with you to where you are now and set another goal. Maybe not be quite as um, altruistic about it, to want something more than what you can actually achieve now, but know that it may happen. I know back when I first had my stroke, I ended up, I was totally paralyzed on one side, couldn't walk, couldn't talk, couldn't see straight. And it took me, I was in ICU for, I think about 10 days. And then I spent 3 months in a rehab facility learning how to do everything all over again. And it took another year to try to regain my strength. And actually, it took about 2 years before I realized I wasn't thinking about that. I was just getting up and living.
mm,
So there was a lot that I had to overcome at that time. But the thing is, I would set goals for myself and I would do something. And that day, maybe the doctor or one of the therapists or something would come in to talk to me and say, "Now, we want to prepare you because you may not be able to ever do this again." And I
yeah.
have to think, oh, okay, well, I did it this morning. So
right.
do I continue doing it or do I take your words for it for what you said and not try anymore?
Mm,
And
Didn't you find, Joanne, that I know it took me a long time to learn this, but don't you find that you set your goals too high in the beginning, and that you
Absolutely.
have to start recognizing that, oh, maybe I should take steps in this
Yeah.
goal. Did you
Baby
find that?
steps, baby steps, and celebrate the baby steps.
Mm,
Because when
mm,
you have had a stroke and you're as weak as you are, and you're still with an adult mind to a certain extent, a baby step is absolutely the best you can do at that time.
mm,
So I think what it actually boils down to, and we've all, I think, to some extent, are very critical of ourselves because I know for myself, I look for perfection. I haven't found it yet. But, I think that's what we do is we try to do the very best we can. And then when it doesn't happen, we're disappointed. But some of my best teachers were children.
mm.
And people, I mean, the children that were just learning how to walk or to roll over, and to watch them how they would scoot across the floor because they wanted to get to that toy. And
Yeah.
they didn't know how to do it, but they'd flap their arms and kick their feet, and the inches started to go away.
They
So
didn't have anything blocking them. They just were like, I want that. No matter how I can get there, that's how I'm going to get there. You know,
absolutely
yeah,
right.
that's
So,
incredible.
Toddler mindset.
yeah, let your creativity take over. You still have it in there with you. So,
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I had to. I said this yesterday. I said I had to get out of my own way.
mm,
I the one that had to just
absolutely.
listen to the people around me and pick and choose who you're going to have in your life, right?
Yeah.
If someone's going to be negative towards you, like that isn't the surroundings. Yes, we should all go to our doctors, but you need to have a team of people around you to support you going through this. You need a spiritual person. You need your faith. You need your loved ones. You need your family. You need the doctors. You need chiropractors. You need acupuncturists. You need everybody around you to help you make it through. And then, like we were talking about earlier, you do have to rest. Rest is a huge part of recovery. And I didn't
Absolutely.
learn that till many, 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 many years afterwards that, you have to kind of like, okay, I did all this and it kind of like reset yourself, right? You reset so that, okay, like, I guess when you're doing bread, right? You're pounding it and you're letting it rise and then you're pounding it again. And so it's, I'm talking Italian. My Italian family used to make bread, but I remember my grandmother making the bread. And I remember like it's a process you have to go through and you have to let it sit, so it could rise. You have to let it rest a little bit. So that's really a big thing that we were talking about before that I think, it is important. It is
Well, I
important.
think a lot of us don't realize either, and it sounds like Joanne realized it early on, that we're the captain of our own team.
Yeah,
We don't have to, just because the doctor sent you to that therapist doesn't mean you stay with that therapist.
right.
You have to be participatory in your own recovery.
That's right.
Tell them what you want. Tell them what you want to do. Tell them how you want to do it. Um, they can help you set the steps to achieve the goals. But I think the three of us have probably done this pretty well eventually. But I fired a couple therapists. I can do that. I
Mm.
don't have to take that doctor therapist recommended.
Yeah. What's another interesting thing for everyone to think about, not only stroke survivors, is, we don't know when things are going to happen to us. And we need to set ourselves up for that. We need to get those people around us that understand us and know us, because when some stroke survivors have brain attack, like major brain attacks, and they can't think clearly for themselves. So
Mm.
they need to have their families or loved ones around them so that they could talk for us and answer for us and say, I know my mom wouldn't want this, or I know my dad wouldn't want this, or I know my husband or boyfriend or whoever it is wouldn't want this. I know they'd want positive inspiration. So it really is important. I think there's a gentleman named Diane Bromberg. Oh, I don't think I mentioned Diane before, but anyway, Diane, she's a wonderful board member of mine. And she connected us with a gentleman named Sarafin. And Sarafin, him and I eventually would like to go to colleges and eighth, seventh, and eighth graders, and just to start the conversation about, you know, setting yourself up. If you set yourself up early in life, you'll be good. You'll be prepared. People are sometimes afraid to talk about things because they don't want to invite it into their lives, but we all know that life happens, right? You don't have a choice. You don't have a choice. I didn't have a choice to have a stroke, and I'm sure Ralph and Joanne didn't either. So you just have to do what you got to do, and it's set yourself up. And the other thing I want to share is that we work very hard on our jobs and our writings and all that kind of stuff, but do we take the time? I'm the first one that does not, to every day take care of themselves and to work on their life plan. So that's what 2026 is about for me as well, continue to work on my life plan,
I think you said it. I'm trying to remember where I heard it, Joanne, that it's probably in your bio, but something about survivors struggle with expressing their needs or explaining their challenges. What guidance would you offer to others who feel misunderstood or unseen?
Hmm. That's a good question and a difficult one because a lot of times we get ourselves so caught in our personality because it works for us. You answer or respond to people in certain ways, or you're attracted to certain people because they have strengths that you don't.
Mm.
And but you've not really thought about how your response to them triggers their response back to you. And consequently, sometimes it can create a relationship that's negative, that's not good. The other thing, too, and I've just met someone recently who happens to be a nurse. She has a wonderful podcast. Her name is Diane Carbo, and she does a podcast for caregivers.
Mm.
I think that's something that I don't hear us talk about very often because in the beginning, we really are childlike and we really do need someone that will watch over us and make sure that we're safe and that we're okay and that we're not sitting back on our laurels that we're trying to become better. And so I forgot where I was going with that. I'm so sorry.
Oh, that's
That's
okay.
all right.
What's the question again, Ralph? What's the question again?
What guidance would you offer someone who feels misunderstood or unseen?
Hmm.
I think, you know, I don't know, maybe that's, I'm asking that because I need to understand it. I don't think I could answer that question right now either, because it's, how do I describe it? I never could for a lot of time, long time. I couldn't express this is what I want. This is how I want to do it. This is, where I want to go, those kind of things. Um, and I never thought anybody heard me.
Hmm.
Mm.
Nobody was listening to me. So, I mean, we've all been through that. You know, my solution was I became captain of my own team. You know, there's solutions out there to start finding, surrounding yourself with those kind of people, with the caregivers and the therapist who say, what would you like to do again? You know, for example, a friend of mine wanted to golf again. They brought in a golf club to therapy.
Hmm.
Um, you
Oh,
know,
that's
my
good.
first therapist asked me, what do you want? I want to go back to construction. She brought a ladder into physical therapy, you know, for me to work on.
Right.
You know, how do you, how do we tell other people, speak up for yourself? I mean,
Mhm.
isn't that one of the most hardest things we went through?
You know what though? I think that people need to clear their minds and just be open for possibilities. Because sometimes, like Joanne calling me the other day, that was out of the blue, right? But I needed to talk to her because in my heart I was like, I really want to write, I really want to get my writings out this year. So I think, and another thing I was thinking when you were talking about that is, you know, Dominic Cordelessa was really a very important confidant of mine. He started out as a board member at one of the communities I was working at, but eventually he understood my purpose and he understood my struggles. He worked for Citicorp around the world, and he was retired. But what I'm getting to is he started to teach me, and he would never give me answers. He would always ask me questions and made me do the work. And this was for years. It was for years. And I'll never forget one line that just sticks in my brain. He goes, think about it. I'll come back and we'll talk. So he had me like my brain was working, it was thinking. And he did it in such an undemanding way. It was like through this loving way that he wanted to help me to prosper, you know. And I know that in his life he had many staff members or team players that he would do the same thing to. So, but it really helped me to get to where I am today, because I would not be able to be where I am today if it was not for Dominic Cordelessa teaching me. And that rings in my brain, you know, that we have to do the work, you know. But sometimes with, like I said before, and I always go back to this because I want to be sure that people understand that sometimes stroke survivors don't know what they want. They're not clear. We're not clear. I was not clear when I first had my stroke. I did not know what I needed or wanted. My brain was like a computer, and it was all combobulated. So I needed to give myself the time. That's another thing that, you know, I think I would share with stroke survivors is give yourself grace. Give yourself grace. Give yourself grace to try to get through things. You don't have to get from here to there right away. You know, like you and Ralph, Joanne and Ralph were saying before, give yourself time to make it work. And life is a gift, so why in a hurry? You know, you're blessed to still be on this earth and to be walking. So give yourself the time to make it work. And so those are my thoughts on your question, Ralph.
Your friend gave you a beautiful gift from the way that he said things to you, because it allowed you to develop your dreams.
Yeah,
He could have answered it for you, but then that would be bringing in where he was on his journey in life.
yeah,
And what he did was he allowed you to really think through what you wanted and needed. Listening to both of you, I was thinking there's a lot of people who have had a stroke who also are aphasic, which means
mm,
that, they're not capable of speaking. And so there's a number of things that are out there, companies that offer different things so that they can have a conversation with you. So I think one of the things that I would suggest for your team that you're building is to make sure that you have someone that can get to the research that you need, to make the phone calls, to put you in touch with, like Lynn Graphica, places where they offer these things, and take advantage of them. A lot of these things are offered for free.
Mhm.
So, don't deny yourself. Just work as hard as you can to get to where you need to be. And that's one thing, and I would suggest this for both of you if you've not done it already. But with your book, make it an audio book. Because
Yes,
so many
yes.
people who've had strokes also have a terrible time with their eyesight. And this keeps them close to everyone else if they can actually read a book.
I can't wait to that, Ralph. I want to get into your book in a little bit in 2 minutes, Joanne. But Ralph, I want to hear about your. Do you have a title for your book yet?
No,
No. And what
no,
it hasn't come to you yet?
no, not yet. Not
And
yet.
how far along are you?
I probably about 4 chapters.
Okay.
So, I have a title for my Italian cookbook, Growing Up Italian, but that's it. But, I think one of the things we're all saying here, I'll go back to what we're talking about. Because one of the things I hear us all saying is it took, I don't know how long it took you guys, but how long it took me a while to realize my intellect is still there.
Hmm.
I'm not stupid.
Mhm.
I'm not, there isn't something that has changed my intelligence. It's, a symptom of the stroke, but I'm still the same person. I respect that with what you've been through too, Joanne, because you wrote a book afterwards. I mean, you wrote fairly soon. So, I mean, I respect that a lot because I don't think I would have had the wherewithal to read many books after I got out of my stroke, you know. So, that whole intellect thing is a big deal for me. It really angers me when people treat stroke survivors, and I see caregivers doing this also, where they'll just wheel them around all the time and do everything for them. No, it's our recovery. It's stroke's a family affair, but it's our recovery.
I get a
I don't.
question to ask both of you. No, no, no. I totally get it. And that's a really important statement that you made, Ralph. And Joanne, that strokes don't affect our intelligence at all, in
Mhm.
whether we have aphasia or not. We're just unable to speak. Like my granddaughter, she's autistic, but she also has a speech impediment because of her seizures that she has.
Mhm.
And but she's so smart. She is so smart. Going back to children, right? She knows when she wants something, she grabs my hand, she puts me over there. She's so smart. She's a lesson for us as well.
Mhm.
I did want to ask you both though. Um, so how do you think people look at you? Like, and I'm asking that question because stroke survivors in general, do you ever take, look at yourself from the standpoint of everybody else? Joanne, what do you think? Do you ever did you ever bother you the way people looked at you? Because people used to look at me like this, like they knew something was wrong with me, but they couldn't figure out what. So what do you think, Joanne?
Um, I think that where I had my stroke, kind of erased any of that. When I had my stroke, it affected the thalamus. And the thalamus is a walnut-sized gland in your brain that um, that's where you store your manners. And so without that, you do things that maybe you shouldn't. And one thought, and I put this, it's a chapter in the book. What I did was uh, I was allowed to go home for a day from the rehab center. And so my husband and I and our neighbor 2 doors down decided to go out for dinner. So we went up to the restaurant, and while we were there, it was very, very crowded. And my husband had to go use the restroom and went to look at some stuff in the store that they have. And I was standing there by myself trying to figure out what I would do. And my husband told me, "Don't move, you stay where you are." So I was trying to be good. But then over the intercom, they came and they announced that they had our table. Well, I was hungry. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, what if they give our table away? So I was getting really nervous. So I thought, well, Bill's not going to mind if I go up there. That's a responsible thing to do. Everybody will be happy. So I started to walk towards it. Well, there was this long counter that had all these beautiful cards and stuff. And there was a man that was he had to be 6'4". He was huge. And he was shaped like the Pillsbury Doughboy. And he had shorts on that were shorter than what I ever wore when I was in my 20s. I mean, they were short. And you could tell I live in Florida, so you could tell he'd only been here for maybe 1 or 2 days, not even 2 days because he wasn't red yet. He was still Pillsbury white. So he was standing there, and I walked up towards him and I said, thinking if he saw me, he would move out of the way so I could get around him. He didn't move. He looked at me and then went back to the cards. And so I'm standing there kind of like, excuse me, you're younger than me. You know what I want. You should move. And he didn't do it. So as I got closer to him, I took my hand and I smacked him on the butt. He jumped straight up, and right next to where he was standing was the aisle, and just turned into that aisle so I could walk by, which I did. And I got up there, and Bill came, and Ann came, and I was still having trouble talking, so I didn't share the story with them. But the next morning, when I was back in rehab, I shared it with my therapist. I wasn't thinking. She sat there, I was on my bed, and she looked at me, she said, "Now, Miss Joanne, you know I love you." But she said, "We're going to work on your manners."
But you were just doing what was in your heart at that particular time, you
I
know?
was hungry.
What's that?
I was hungry. I
Yeah,
wanted to
yeah,
eat.
yeah. Yeah, you were hungry, you know. But the think the lesson that we all get from that is that, you make mistakes and you move on and you learn from them, like, and you have to give yourself the grace not to hold on to it, right? You just,
Yeah.
okay, how do I learn my lessons? How do I
I don't
learn?
know. I see it a little different. What Joanne did was she had a goal and she achieved her goal by going after it.
That's
Deep,
right.
deep.
You know,
Yeah.
I think the cognitive stuff, there's an honesty that comes out of us.
Uh-huh.
And it comes out of us towards ourselves and other people. I mean, I've gotten to the point, I don't care what people think.
Yeah.
You know, I may be slow walking down the street or something like that. Walk around me.
Mhm.
I don't care. I'm walking, and I couldn't do that before. You know,
Sure.
I that's that's how I feel about it.
We're gonna
Just
talk about the word urgency that Ralph and I determined a while
oh,
ago.
oh,
But I want to hear your input into. I know you said you don't care what people think of you anymore, but was there a point after your stroke that like people would look at you like cross-eyed and like
oh
what?
yeah.
What's
Oh,
what's
yeah.
what's going on?
But I was very lucky because I had moved in with my daughter and her family and my grandchildren. It was unconditional. They didn't care.
Yeah,
They didn't care. They didn't look at me funny. My daughter and son-in-law didn't woe is you type of attitude. They get up and get it yourself, Dad. It's like
Yeah.
and so I learned from that. I was very lucky for there. I think other stroke survivors, yeah, I can remember going into a grocery store, sitting on that stupid cart, and from then on, I ordered everything online,
yeah,
and they
yeah,
looked at me funny. And I had to learn that, hey, this is what I am. This is how I am. I'm over it.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
I got
That's a
over
good
myself.
that's a good and that's why I think it's important for everyone who suffered a stroke to I hesitate to say support groups because I have found and I could be wrong. If it's not, let me put it this way: a support group you have to pick and choose whether it's the right support group for you because sometimes support groups are very downers rather than lifting people up. We need to be lifted up. We need people that are going to inspire us. So I think that that's an important piece to you know our who we are is to be lifted up by other people, to be lifted up.
Finding other stroke survivors makes us less unique.
Yes, yes, yes. And it makes us less odd,
Yeah, that's
you know,
that's
you know.
true. Well, I don't know about that. I consider
I'm
myself
very odd.
still odd. Yeah.
I've always beat to the what is it? The beat to the beat of a different drummer.
The
And
drummer,
I've
Yeah, there
always
yeah.
you go.
done when everybody's over here, I'm over here.
Yep.
And I have a great story that one time I was working for Pumptonian Food Service and they had these wonderful motivational kickoffs to the and they had like a meeting and there was a presenter up there and he said they did something. Okay, close your eyes, we're going to hide something, and when you get closer we're gonna clap. What they did was he made the example. Okay, I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna walk over to this way and we're gonna hide it and then we're gonna ask you. And then he came back and while he's doing it, then they chose me to be the one that if he got closer, they were gonna clap. Well, I thought right away, well, if they went in that direction initially, that's the direction that everybody's mind is going to, oh, they must have went that way. So everybody's going, I went the complete opposite direction and got it in 2 seconds flat. And it's like, oh my God, like that was incredible. But that's how I am not normal. I've always been different, always thought different, always processed different. So that's just how so I'm very odd. I'm very odd.
You
Ralph
know,
and Joe.
that brings up a great area. You, Joanne, you worked in what, radio, journalism,
Yes.
comedy, business.
Yes.
What? You navigated, after your stroke, you navigated some major professional changes in your life. What helped you stay open rather than defeated? And, where did you, how did you adapt to that?
I think the two things that I still rely on, always rely on, is prayer and humor.
Mm,
Sometimes you can be in the most traumatic situation and you'll find something there to laugh about, even with the person that's going through the trauma, without being mean or anything else. But if you look at their face, you know what they're thinking, and somehow you know it because you've been there yourself. And just by bringing a little humor, if it's possible, not anything that's forced, but something that just seems to be a common denominator between the two of you and bring it to them. It helps them to relax a little bit and realize, okay, we have to face this and we can do this.
Yeah.
So,
Humor is so important in life.
yeah.
And do you, I know you do, Joanne, but Ralph, do you laugh at yourself a lot?
Time, all the time.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's like I'm my best in entertainment.
Me too. Me too. When I do something wrong, I start cracking up. I'm like, it's just crazy. It's crazy. So we only have a few more minutes, and I really I want to talk about urgency, because Ralph and I, that's want to be one of the chapters in my book, Urgency, because after my stroke, I couldn't understand why I was always in a hurry to get things done. Like if I wanted that, I was going to go get it. There was nothing going to stop me from getting it, which was a great thing in my recovery. But when you're out in the general public, you have to kind of curtail and kind of like be more what's the word I'm looking for?
Driven,
What's that?
driven,
Yeah,
driven.
driven from within, but not let people see it on the outside. Because I used to get people afraid. I'll give you an example. When this one dear friend of mine, Eddie Devine, who was a grammar school classmate, um, he called me one time and we were talking about some stuff, and we were chatting, and he found me on Facebook. Anyway, so he said to me, and I said, "Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that." And he goes, "Renee," he goes, "people are not going to understand your visions if you're talking too fast. If you they're not going to be at the level that you're at, because of your drive." He said, "It's like a softball team. You're a softball player." He's like, "You're the manager. The third baseman doesn't need to know what the first baseman's going to be. The left fielder doesn't need to know what the third baseman has to do. Everybody's got to play the position, and you're the manager. Just tell them what they need to know to get things done for yourself." So, and I always remember that. And Dominic shared that with me too. He goes, if you're up here, you're not going to be able to talk to the human race, because the human race is the one that we want to make a difference with, right? The stroke survivors, we want to be able to inspire them, encourage them, but we also want to educate the human race. We also want to educate people on how not to have a stroke, and how to build a team around them, and how to get financial stability for yourself. So I want to ask both of you, like, how did urgency play in your life when you suffered your stroke? Ralph, go first for us.
Excuse me.
That's okay.
My urgency showed up as fear. I wasn't able to define it until you and I talked, and I name it urgency now. Mine
Yeah.
was fear. Every time I went to bed, it was like, am I going to get up?
Mm,
You know, every time I tried to take a step, am I going to fall? You know,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had 4 falls in the first year, that kind of thing. Um, so I don't know. I still deal with it, especially
Mm-hmm.
after going through some health issues recently. So the urgency is um, more organized now.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I've gotten done what I got done today, and I'm satisfied with it. You know, I,
Good.
I'm I my to-do list aren't 20 items anymore. If I get three out of five, I'm ecstatic. If I
Right.
get three
Right.
out of 10, I'm ecstatic.
Right.
So my urgency is, it's a mental head mindset for me. It's slow down, you'll
Mm-hmm.
get more done.
Mm. And honestly, Ralph, I didn't know until we were talking that one time, like you and I both went ding, like it
Yeah.
both was a light bulb went off in our brain, like urgency. That's how we feel, because we suffered a stroke, and somebody could suffer a heart attack or have cancer or any traumatic thing that happens in your life. It kind of gets you urgent to like, wow, like I have to get done what I want to do in my life, because it's not promised. Tomorrow's not promised. A minute from here is not promised, so I with that day that we spoke, it was like, oh my God, it was rung a bell in my brain, and it actually connected. It was like it put a dot to everything that I was doing in my life. It put a dot to it.
I think too, I recognize now my legacy isn't the quantity of work I got done, it's the quality.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And when you have that vision, God takes care of so much more than you ever imagined. And you are doing such an incredible work. It
Not
just
you, Joanne.
blows me away. Joanne, talk about the urgency.
I'm sitting over here shaking my head because I agree with what the two of you are saying. I think when I was very, very young, pre-stroke, I always had set my goals for what I wanted to do. They never, well, I can't say they never, but a number of times they don't come true. And I think what I've done, I've been doing a lot of thinking in the last few months. So I don't know if I need to apologize for that or if it's a good
Oh
thing.
no,
But,
absolutely not.
but it's like I I just feel that if there's something I need to do, I work towards that. If I'm stopped for some reason, I need to try to figure out why. Because sometimes it's not me. Maybe the goal I've set for myself isn't the goal that I should be working on. We have our own goals as individuals, but we also are a part of a larger world. And for myself, and I know other people, may not believe in God or look at Him, but they know that something in their life is more powerful than themselves. And sometimes they're bitter because they haven't been able to do what they've done, or maybe they've been able to do it and they take on this attitude um, of well, I started to do it and things got in the way, so I couldn't do it, but I kept with it and I made it happen. I don't believe we make things happen. I think we're allowed to make things happen, but I don't think it's us that does it. There was something I read just recently where it said, if what you're working on comes to be, that's God's approval.
Mm,
If it doesn't happen, that's God's protection. So
mm,
He has something planned for you. He wants you where you are right now, and it may be something that is what you really need to learn, that you don't know, that you can take with you, that's going to make your goals absolutely prosper. Say for example, you need to learn how to knit. And you've been thinking that I'll take some classes, that would be fun. And you learn how to do it. And then you find that you are volunteering at a place like a home for people they can't get out. And you're making lap ropes for them. So you've taken your knowledge that you learned, and that's as far as your goal went, or you weren't sure what you were going to do with it. And it's been brought to something that's better for helping other people. I don't
yeah,
know if that helps you understand where my thinking is, but
absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So, we've been talking for over an hour. time just flies when you're just having conversations. And I actually forget sometimes that we're streaming around the world right now.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad you
I,
didn't say that sooner.
right? It's incredible. We're logged on to YouTube. I do it through YouTube now, and I put it on the Facebook page. When we get done, we'll post it to the website. I'll edit it and I'll put it all.
Radio, yeah.
Yep, I'll send it to Ralph so he could stream it on his program. But I really just want to go back to the center, to the beginning. What we started 2026 is a new beginning, right? So if you could just close, both of you close out with sharing, just give people hope for 2026. I think that's the best. And we'll come back in a few months together, maybe in 6 months, and we'll revisit each other. We'll say, where we are. And Joanne and I are going to get together once a month to work on our books. And I promise to give you an update on that. My book is called Extra Inning, because my stroke happened on a softball field. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but you should know because of my first book, but my stroke happened on a softball field. But 13 years prior, I get hit in the head with the bat right on that field, right in the same place. So it was God saying, you're not listening. You gotta do this. I want you to listen to me. So that'll be shared a little bit more in my book, Extra Inning, because extra inning is about, okay, you're in extra innings, you fought, you did what you needed to do, but what are you going to do to win? What are you going to do to do your best you can? So give us a little bit of hope. Joanne, you could go first, and then Ralph will go, and then I'll close out.
I think all of us, no matter where we are, and I was thinking about this right before the program, because it's been, I think, 29 years since I had my stroke, and I've truly been blessed back to full health. I have minor things, like I still have a little bit of weakness and tingling in my fingers and hands. But I'm learning to ask for help if I need it with something because I don't have the strength. But and every once in a while, especially when I get shy or which happens often, my aphasia comes to the forefront, and then I can't think of words. So there are things that are still there. But if you saw me walking down the street or if we were having a conversation, it would be hard for you to realize that I had had a stroke. So if you're laying in a bed like I remember doing and not being able to move at all, that you have a purpose. Even in that condition, you have a reason for still being here. And it may not be one for you. It may be that you are there to help someone else in their life. Maybe because of where you are, someone who loves you comes to visit and may be struck with compassion that they never felt for people before. And maybe that's a seed that is used in the rest of their life. So we never know. All I know is that, I've been dropped into a puddle of water and that drop is in the center, but the waves go out from there and it touches other people. And that's, I think, what we're supposed to do is to help other people the way we've been helped ourselves.
That's perfect. Perfect closing from you, Joanne. Ralph?
Two things. It's better to have tried and failed than to have failed to try.
Right.
My hope is that people will not give up. People will understand that there's a mental health aspect to it that we all have to go through, but it's not. The hope for me was growth was minimal, but it started to build on itself. And while it started to build, it's becoming I say often, it was the most difficult thing I've done in my life, but it's become the most rewarding.
Wow, that's perfect. That's perfect. And I just want to let everybody know that, like I always say, that we continue. This is just everything's continuation, right? Tomorrow is another day. The next moment is another moment. And we're blessed to be able to take those moments and experience those moments. And really, I think that 2025 and 2026, well, two words keep coming to me is to revel. I said that to you one other time, Ralph, to revel in the moments. I want to stop and I want to revel in the moments, because no matter where I am in my life, I'm blessed to be here. And the other one that really just started coming to me is joy. I think 2026 is going to be a year of joy. You got to find the joy. You have to look for the joy. You have to be joyful yourself. You can't expect, this is something that took me a long time to learn, not wait for everybody else to do it for you. You got to find the joy within yourself, and you have to experience it, and you have to be joyful within your heart and your soul, no matter what's going on in your life, because life is not easy. Life is challenging, but with together we can get through things. And we're really blessed and honored to have Ralph and Joanne a part of this 2026 kickoff show. We're already booked for February, already booked for March, and we're working on April. So we have so many wonderful guests coming up. So stay tuned. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me today. We always blow our kisses on 3 if you feel comfortable, because I believe that love is the answer for everything. Love gets us through. Unconditional Love Concert, which Ralph was a part of. He made a video. It was incredible. And I can't wait to take that on the road to meet everybody live. And maybe Ralph will come and join me when we're on the road. So, and Joanne, we can't wait to meet you in person one day.
Yes.
Here we go.
That'd be wonderful.
On 3, 1, 2, 3. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful day.
All
Have a
right.
blessed day, and have a stroke
Thank
of
you,
life.
Joanne.
Love.
This
Bye.